All right, we are calling the January 11th Petaluma City School Board of Education meeting to order. We're going to start by acknowledging AED 361. Every 30 days, we have to look at the health conditions and see if we're going to continue to meet in hybrid or fully distanced. We're going to discuss, this is a discussion item for later on, so we can discuss it further, but for now, it appears that we're going to continue hybrid unless something else is decided later. Comments from the public on closed session items?
We have one attendee.
All right, so if you would like to make a comment, put your first and last name in the chat and what you would like to speak about. This is only on closed session items. We'll give you about a minute or 30 seconds. All right, we're going to go ahead and close the chat and adjourn to closed session.
Well, you can't come.
We are reconvening at 6:07. Up next is the organizational component of the meeting, nomination and election of board president.
I nominate Joanna Pond for board president.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. You're number 2. All right. Nomination and election of board clerk. I nominate Sheldon Jen.
I second.
And third.
Does anyone want to say anything about this?
No.
I do. First of all, I really am pleased to keep this leadership together for another year with all of the things that we've been doing and all the things we're going through to keep our leadership together. I think is really important. I also wanted to throw out the idea of changing the classification of clerk to vice president. I think I see those positions as more collaborative if they're together. Clerk is kind of like, what does a clerk do? You don't take notes. Gary takes notes. Certainly when I was clerk, I didn't take notes. I just think it would make it more collaborative. I think it would be an interesting thing to do. I think it's easier to understand that you have a VP and a president, and that's why the VP takes over.
Go ahead.
Hi. So if you were to decide to do something like that, what you would end up doing is you would still do the nomination for the clerk tonight.
Yeah.
And then we would do a review of board bylaws. And there could possibly be 2 ways to do that, at least in the short run or long run. One would be an overhaul. Another one would be, in the short run, is to notate the role of the clerk and put it in some type of administrative regulation that basically it serves similar to the role of a vice president. So there's a couple ways to do that, but it would require totally doable if that's what the board chooses to do, but you would vote on it tonight and then come back on it.
So then I would do it for future business. Okay.
Yes. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Sheldon, board clerk, soon to be vice president. Appointment of superintendent to secretary. I nominate Matthew Harris.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, selection of representatives and alternate representatives to fill vacancies on the Sonoma County Committee on School District Organization. Caitlin
And me.
and you are the current.
And we've done nothing.
Right, it's just in case we do have some type of redistricting, I guess, or.
You know, I'll keep doing that. I don't care.
Okay. I'm gonna nominate Ellen and Caitlin, and Caitlin's not here today, but if there's an issue, we can talk about it in the future. Is that-
Caitlin as alternate, Ellen as representative.
Yes. So I nominate trustee Webster as the representative and trustee Quinn as the alternate.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, board meeting dates. Gary, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I'll take this one on. I'm going to recommend to the board that you table this and review it in February. The board dates have been set through the end of June. This is not school calendar, this is just your dates. And I would recommend that Matthew here for this one, because there'll be some dates that he's going to need to look at for next year usually around the February, March time, to make sure that works for the schedule for the board. So it's not a big deal to postpone it until February, but I'd recommend that you bring it back to the first board meeting in February. And you would be doing the fiscal year or the school year, July 1 to June 30th for next year.
So I move to table 6.4 until February.
I second. All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, we've been kind of fast there. Katie, did you have any questions?
No.
Or Malaya, who is our other student board member who's participating on Zoom?
She is.
Oh, she is good.
I guess Malaya, if you have any questions, you can, and she
Chime
can
right
chat
in.
since she's a panelist.
Yeah. That's them, you.
Okay, or you can text me, Malaya. All right, so no question?
No.
Stop us anytime, okay?
I will.
All right, okay, so next up, adoption and approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
And move to approve the agenda.
I second.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
I don't know whether we need to do this, but at the, under discussion and information, 15.2, business services, 15.3, ed services, but there's nothing there. Do we need to strike that? Or
No, because there's nothing.
there's no attachments or anything, so it doesn't matter? Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you. I was wondering about that. Thank you for reminding me. Okay, so can I get a motion?
We did.
We did, and we seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, next up, special recognitions, reports, and presentations. Looks like we have Kenilworth, Petaluma Junior, Carpe Diem, Sonoma Mountain, and Petaluma Adult School.
Progress.
I see your forehead.
Is Kenilworth up first?
Looks like it.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Will Arlinghouse. I'm the assistant principal for Kenilworth. I have two student body representatives tonight, Franco and Jack, and they will give the site report for Kenilworth. Take it away, Franco and Jack.
Welcome to Kenilworth. We are delighted to update you on what the Colts have been up to lately. There have been a number of spirit days, fun Fridays, and dances that we've gotten great feedback on over the past semester. Our students persevered and overcame many challenges this semester. Colts have been working hard and making sure to get their assignments in on time, and we hope to see all the accomplishments of our students in this upcoming next semester.
We had so much fun with our friends in the first semester, and it is so great to be back learning in person. In this slideshow, we will go over a few key events and curriculums that we have focused on here at Kenilworth over the course of the first semester.
Next slide, please. Thank you. We love to hold spirit days here where students can dress up in wacky clothes to fit the different topics, whether that be Hawaiian Day, Flannel Day, and also have our own school colors day. We also have where students can come to school in our very own school colors, black and gold.
Even with masks, the cult community is stronger than ever. In the pictures, we see many students smiling under their masks, enjoying the fresh air. Students are loving the sunshine and finally being back in person, able to hang out during lunch. These photos give a little insight into the everyday life of KJHS student.
Here at Kenilworth, we offer a wide variety of student-run clubs, such as Anime Club, Video Game Club, Pride Club, and even our own Kenilworth Junior High Podcast Club, which you can listen to on Spotify. As well as clubs, our teachers organize and run many sports activities, including cross-country, track, 7th and 8th grade basketball, volleyball, and our upcoming flickerball tournament starting this week.
As you can see, Kenilworth students are hard at work at school. Many students were excited to return to have a chance to work with their peers and interact with new people. You can see our Kenilworth band playing their instruments with each other outside to stay safe while surrounding grid. Even though everyone is hard at work, they are still having fun here at Kenilworth Junior High School.
Many students here are in a variety of different classes, engaging in projects, tests, and quizzes. As you can see, our students are having fun while actively learning. Now that we are back to in-person learning, we are re-experiencing what it's like to be able to do hands-on learning. I'm sure that our Colts love being back at school and not learning online. Hopefully, our Colts continue to excel throughout the entire semester.
Our Colts are seen enjoying Fun Fridays. Fun Fridays are games and activities that students can participate in during lunch. Some of the games the students are playing here are wheelbarrow racing, hula hoop toss, and musical chairs. We hope students will join in our future Fun Fridays.
These are a few pictures taken at our dances that have been held so far during the first semester of school. We have had the 7th grade icebreaker dance, glow in the dark dance, and recently our winter wonderland dance. Coming up, we have our February dance. It is a great evening for students to hang out with their friends, participate in different activities, and eat snacks. Our school dances are a great time for everyone to come together and enjoy a really fun night.
Our winter wonderland dance was a blast. The students were enjoying the activities we held and were having an awesome time with their friends. Laughter filled the air as people showed off some of their best dance moves. Even though it was a cold night, that didn't stop everyone from having a good time. The decorations that were hung around everywhere gave everyone a wonderful winter experience.
Overall, this entire first semester has been absolutely amazing. There were fun Fridays, dances, and awesome spirit days, and so much more. Students got to participate in so many activities, sports, spirit days, fun Fridays, and all of the challenges that were faced this year didn't impact on all the fun. The Colts sure have worked hard this semester, and we're looking forward to another amazing, fun, and exciting second semester.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I love the tie.
Yeah. All right, looks like Petaluma Junior's next.
Hi, thank you. I'm Kelly O'Neill Chris, principal at Petaluma Junior High School, and I should have Aliana Stewart and Frankie LaBelle joining me to present about PJHS.
All right, you might be on your own, Kelly, because I don't know if they're there. We'll give Ashley another minute now.
Okay. If not, they have a video, so our leadership team put together a wonderful video to show you what's been going on.
Oh, okay. Well, we do want to see that. So why don't we come back to you? We can see if the next group of students is ready.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, looks like Carpe Diem.
So what's happening?
We're gonna do. All right.
Hi, I'm Greg Stevenson. I'm the principal of both Carpe Diem and Sonoma Mountain High Schools. And this evening, we've got recent graduate Jose Rodriguez here to present for both schools.
All right.
Hey everyone, my name is Jose Rodriguez, and I just graduated from Carpe Diem High School 3 weeks ago. Thank you. So I attended Carpe Diem for both my junior and senior years, and now that I've graduated, I plan on attending the SRJC and looking at soccer academies to possibly attend. So here are some of the things that we've been up to since we last presented to the board in January. Last June, we were lucky to hold an alternative outdoor education graduation ceremony on the Casa Grande football field. With graduates from Carpe Diem, Sonoma Mountain, San Antonio, and Valley Oaks, it was a nice change from not holding a traditional ceremony like in 2020. This year, we started with a welcome week for all students at both schools. On the first day, both schools gathered at the Phoenix Theater for our traditional dual school opening day, where we participated in community building activities led by our teachers. We'd like to thank Tom Gaffey for allowing us free use of his great venue. At Carpe Diem, we started the year with 30 students. We've had 11 graduates thus far and currently have 26 students enrolled. Sonoma Mountain started the year with 24 students. They've had 8 graduates so far, 3 of them being fifth-year students. They currently have 20 students enrolled. From Sonoma Mountain, they had a student on the varsity football team and have another currently on the girls varsity basketball team at Casa Grande. Between the two schools, we have 2 students co-enrolled in band and 1 taking journalism at the comprehensive sites. We are still utilizing the services of Mentor Me and Martin Tavasu to address suspension rates at both sites. Through this work, we've only had 1 suspension between the schools in the last 2 years. This diversion program has been amazing in addressing and working through suspendable issues with students. Also, through a generous donation from the late John Martin and his wife Liz, students at both schools have been participating in group counseling sessions. Through his own experience, this is something John felt a strong need for in population of vulnerable at-promise students. An alternative education volunteer for over 20 years, John Martin passed away September 30th after a lengthy battle of cancer. Thank you, John and Liz. In the same vein, most recently, we have lost another couple of young former Carpe Diem students to unnatural causes. We will be working on a memorial project at Carpe Diem in the spring to honor these special people. Monthly student meetings are held at both schools with Mr. Stevenson to allow students a safe forum to talk about ideas, ask questions, and work on solutions to topics presented. Some of the outcomes include a new student parking area and campus beautification at Sonoma Mountain, as well as the memorial project at Carpe Diem. Trying to improve the appearance of Sonoma Mountain, one of their students reached out to Friedman's here in town and was able to secure a $200 donation toward the purchase of new planters for the front of their school. The old planters were from a senior project in 2000 and had finally succumbed to rot. Thank you, Friedman's, for your support. Valerie Alston remains our awesome college and career specialist for both sides, working mainly with seniors on SRJC registrations, financial aid programs, scholarships, and other related activities. While seniors are her focus, all students have access to her services, and she does an excellent job accommodating the needs of our school community. Unfortunately, last year, our outdoor education program was basically put on hold. We were, however, able to squeeze in a dual school hike to Tennessee Valley Beach in Marin County earlier this year. We did, however, have to cancel our trips to China Camp, the Golden Gate Bridge, and the Academy of Sciences that we had planned for this year. While the use of Ingenuity, our online learning platform, is our main resource for credit recovery, other students have utilized Santa Rosa Junior College to make up high school credit, as well as starting to work toward their associate's degree. Another option would be co-enrollment with adult education, but with Ingenuity and AB 104, we haven't needed to utilize this valuable resource yet this year. Now, for me personally, what I appreciated most while a student at Carpe Diem was how much they helped me feel more confident in my ability to get things done. I had always struggled with homework and sometimes even classwork, but at Carpe, the experience I had was that all of the teachers at some point sat down with me and at least once helped me to better understand the material I was learning. To be honest, it was a lot more than once, but whenever I would ask for help, they'd give it to me. I am truly grateful to Carpe Diem for helping me out in so many ways, not just educationally. Thank you for your time, and thank you for supporting alternative education.
Awesome. Good job, Jose. Thank you. That's the end, Ashley.
Take a walk.
Is that speaker still there? The senior or the graduate?
He was excellent.
No, I wanted to hear his last slide.
Yeah, I did too.
Sure.
Yeah. Is
Oh,
Greg?
is that what happened?
Hey, so we lost internet for a moment there, so we didn't hear the end of Jose's presentation. Is he
Okay.
still in?
His excellent presentation.
Is he still in attendance? Yeah, it was great. It was
He
wonderful.
is.
There
There
you
he is.
are. Okay. Oh, wait, he disappeared again.
There you go, Jose. They'd like to hear, not sure where we cut off, but
It was the
very end. Yeah.
There it is.
There.
All right. Let's see him.
So I have to switch to my phone,
Take your time.
but I could still read it off.
Okay.
What part did you guys not hear?
The
This
very
last
end.
slide.
Just the last slide.
About your feelings about Carpe Diem.
Oh yeah. So personally, what I appreciated most while a student at Carpe Diem was how much they helped me feel more confident in my ability to get things done. I had always struggled with homework and sometimes even classwork, but at Carpe, the experience I had was that all of the teachers at some point sat down with me at least once to help me better understand the material I was learning. But to be honest, it was a lot more than once. Whenever I would ask for help, though, they would give it to me. I'm truly grateful to Carpe Diem for helping me out in so many ways, not just educationally. Thank you for your time. Thank you for supporting our alternative education.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
thanks, Jose. Great job.
Yeah, no problem.
And thanks again, board, for seriously, for continuing to support Alt Ed. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for all your work.
Yeah.
All right, have a good night. All right, so we still have Petaluma Junior and Petaluma Adult School. Mhm. Nancy,
Are we ready to start?
hi, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Looks like there's something there. Let's change this over here. Different device. Okay. Hello, everybody. So we can move to the next slide. Thank you for having Petaluma Adult School present this evening a report. So just a little general information about Petaluma Adult School. Of course, we've been around for over 100 years. We're a member of the Sonoma County Adult Education Consortium and we're WASC accredited. And by the way, our WASC accreditation is coming up next year, obviously. So we're getting very busy with some of our WASC work and our focus groups. Fiscally, our WIOA 2 grant is $120,000 this year, and our CAPE is $1.4 million. And that's the funding. Of course, adult education funding is separate from the general fund. And next slide. Just a little overview of some of our adult education program areas. Of course, adult secondary education, which is high school diploma and high school equivalency. For us, that's HiSET in Spanish and also in English, as well as adult basic education. And our English as a second language program for adults with morning and evening classes, citizenship preparation. We have several parent education programs in progress and computer classes. A couple of those are coming back. And then we are the LEA for the Cal Regional Medical Assisting program. So that's clinical medical assisting and phlebotomy. And then we're also the LEA for the North Bay roofers and waterproofers program. And then on the side, we have a little bit of a community education program, which is a 4 fees program. That's a little bit more like a Parks and Rec, but when you think of adult ed, you should think about all of these core mandated programs supported by CAPE and WIOA. Next. Family Resource Center. So we're happy to welcome back Vicki Meister. She retired, but now she's able to rejoin us again on a limited basis, working in our Family Resource Center, which provides a number of wraparound services. Next. So wraparound services to support families in PCS in the family area. And I can't talk tonight. I've been thinking about doing this all afternoon. So here I am. So wraparound services to support all of our Petaluma families, specifically those that tend to be more at McDowell Elementary, McKinley, and Valley Vista. So sort of are focused on PCS. So refugee resettlement, that's definitely an interesting new not new, but because of the Afghani people coming to settle in the area from Afghanistan, we're seeing a number of them join our ESL classes and access other services through the Family Resource Center. Then you see a couple of other types of services we have in partnerships. Next. In addition to that, we also have the referrals for health, employment, food, housing, the diaper bank, diapers. There are a lot of people with preschool children in our community, and those can be an expensive commodity. So that's one of the things that we offer. We are partners with the community garden, and then anybody who's been at McDowell on Friday afternoons has seen the very busy Friday food bank. Next. And then a few other services that you see there, as well as some classes, which are also funded through the FRC and a little bit with our CAPE funds. Crafts, healthy cooking and nutrition classes with a mobile cooking cart, financial literacy classes, and community leadership classes. That's another sort of newish area. It's a program under a grant called Families Lead with other family resource centers in the area, with the goal of empowering our parents in the community to be more active community members. Next. And then we have a large number of, not a large, but I think 6 is quite a bit for our preschool programs, our early childhood education programs, Avance, number of staff working on Avance. Our classes with Avance right now take place at McDowell and McKinley schools, and they are offered via Zoom and then separate classes for in person. So we accommodate both groups of students. Next. And a couple of the different aspects of the Avance program. One includes home visits. And so that is so that our teachers are able to sort of see into the homes and how the parents are interacting with their children and implementing the curriculum at home with toy making, with play. And next. And then our parent nursery school cooperative is located on the Madison Street side of McKinley. And there are some of our parents there. English as a second language programs. We are offering also Zoom classes, strictly Zoom classes, and also strictly in-person classes. And we're planning and hoping to continue with increasing the number of in-person classes. So of course we have a little bit of a hiccup right now, but we'll just keep moving forward and hoping that our students come to these in-person classes. Prior to the Christmas or the winter break, there was definitely a higher demand for the in-person classes than for the Zoom classes. So those are some of the classes we have. Free childcare is definitely a big part of our programs. Next. And then Lane Jen is one of our lead teachers, ESL teachers, and coordinators. And I asked her for some information about a couple of our students. So we have Michaeline, and Michaeline is from Haiti. She started a level 1 English class and attended until the day before she had her baby. Our Family Resource Center partnered with agencies such as the Petaluma Mothers Club to get her everything she needed to get set up, bassinet, car seat, stroller, all of the different types of things she would need for a new baby in a new country. And she'll return to classes soon for ESL. The second student you see there is Riem. She's from Syria, and she has 2 children who attend classes in Petaluma City Schools. She took one of our Job Link career development classes a couple of years ago, and that inspired her to continue to another of our classes, which is high school diploma completion. So she achieved her high school diploma, and she is moving toward reaching her goals. Then we have Felix and his wife Magali from Mexico. They also have children who attend school in our district. He earned his citizenship last year through by preparing for the exams and the interviews by taking our citizenship preparation class and our English classes. And then his wife has also worked for us in our childcare program. So this just represents the way that our students really benefit from all of the different types of classes and services that we offer with adult ed. Next. Adult secondary education, that is high school diploma and equivalency programs. So for us, equivalency, we can support GED, but we focus primarily on supporting the HiSET program. And you see a few of our teachers there. I can say we're super lucky that we get retirees from Petaluma City Schools often coming to work with us. You might recognize a couple names there, as well as teachers that currently work in the district. Next. And classes at a glance. So we are in Petaluma, Santa Rosa, Sonoma, Windsor, and we're planning to get going in Healdsburg. A new class that we're developing is in partnership with Hannah Boys Center, and Hannah is under sort of new administrative leadership, and they're restructuring their school with more support for displaced and at-risk 18 to 23-year-old students. So we'll be supporting them with an on-site class. And then our equivalency class options are at McDowell, and then sometimes over at San Antonio as well, in person, online, Spanish, and English. Next. Summer graduates, our program manager, Amy Jasa, wanted us to have that little quote there as a reminder that the Petaluma Adult School Program helps adults do better, and the better that our adults do, the better their families do. That's one of our graduations from the past. Thank you. Next slide. So here's a few statistics. We have 451 active students right now across all of our programs, except we're not counting apprenticeship in there. That's not part well, yes, no, that doesn't include the apprenticeship programs. That's strictly the other mandated program areas that I discussed. So you have program years 18, 19, 19, 20, et cetera, plus fall. So keep in mind the numbers on that last column represent half of a school year, not a full school year. But you can see, some of the attendance moving from the pre-COVID year to the starting of the COVID year to the last COVID year to the current year, and how that's affected our enrollments. Outcomes. Our funding for the adult school program is definitely outcomes based. So our students must be successful based on a variety of matrices to be able to, for us to be able to receive funding. So a large part of our work is with data and accountability to ensure that the California Community College Chancellor's Office, our consortium, CDE, WIOA, all of these entities are aware of our positive outcomes for students. So we have 19 current grads, and we'll expect a few more here before we have our in-person graduation at Valley Vista. It's just going to be a lot of fun, but it's definitely one little group comes in, they do their graduation, they move on out through the multi-purpose room. Next small group comes, they do their graduation, they move out, following all the safety protocols for Petaluma City Schools. And I want to say a little tiny bit about the HSE and the GED. So you see 3, you see 0, you see 14, you see 2, you think, not much happening necessarily in their GED and high set test prep. You have to keep in mind that it takes 5 subsets. You have to pass all 5 subsets of a test to be able to count in these numbers here. And these are working, busy adults who are very, very multi-level in all of their skills. So it takes a tremendous effort on their part and the part of our really fabulous teacher to be able to get to a place where they've passed that number of tests. So we have right now 10 people who've passed 4 tests. So they're just trying to crank out that last math test or that last social studies test. And then we have 10 who've currently passed 3 tests. And again, they're prepping to take those last couple of tests to be counted in these sections. And the last is payment points. Payment points is how the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Grant calculates our positive outcomes. So students have certain particular outcomes based on testing, based on graduation, based on subset test passing, and that gets payment points. Payment points equal funding for WIOA. Next. What's next? Boy, I was cautioned to take a look at the tip when I had this very last slide to go ahead and say, yeah, this was obviously a few years back, but this is what we were, and this is what we hope to get back to when it's safe. But it gives you an image of how the adult school is a thriving part of the community that provides a number of really important services for all of our families. So that's all I have. Thank you. And again, thank you very much to our board and our superintendent for supporting Petaluma Adult School.
Thank you. Thank you, Nancy. So many exciting things going on over there. Yeah. Amazing. All right. All right, Kelly.
I guess it's just me. So again, I'm Kelly O'Neill Chris, principal at Petaluma Junior High School, and our leadership kids have put together a video.
Our school board, I'm Juliana, and I'm going to be talking about the Spirit Week. The week before we went to winter break, PGHS did a Spirit Week. Students and teachers dressed up as the holiday clothing. On Monday, we had Holiday Pajama Day. Tuesday was Anything But a Backpack Day. Wednesday was Candy Cane Color Day. Thursday was Ugly Sweater Day. And Friday was Holiday Hat Day. Bye!
Hi, I'm Connor, and I will be talking about the Halloween dance. The Halloween dance was very fun. People dressed up in festive costumes and had a great time. The food and drinks were good, along with the classic music, and there was little or even no conflict.
Hey everybody, I'm Soren, and recently we've had our Winter Wonderland dance. So what happened at the dance There was candy, snack tables, photo booths, and there were some cool decorations, such as paper snowflakes, fake snow, and some cool decorations in general. Thanks, everybody.
Hi School Board, I'm Sabrina and I'm here to talk to you about our amazing food drive. It was a great success. It was from the 6th to the 16th and it was amazing. Between all of our 4th period classes, we managed to collect so many food items and help so many people with food insecurity. Bye! Hi, I'm Scarlett and I'm going to be talking about the current sports at Petaluma Junior High. We have girls volleyball 7th and 8th as well as boys basketball 7th and 8th. Both of these sports are coming to an end next week, but wrestling starts in February. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Hi School Board, I'm Chloe, and recently our school had a mural painted by Maxwell Bala. He is a former student of PJHS, and this mural helps represent our school. Bye!
Hi Bantams, I'm Sabrina. And I'm Ruby. And we're here to talk about Poly Class in the Poly Class Garden.
Polly Class was a 12-year-old student that went to PJHS.
She was kidnapped at knife point at a slumber party with her friends.
She was kidnapped and then murdered.
After that incident, in 1993, the Poly Class Foundation was built.
The Poly Class Foundation is a national nonprofit dedicated to the safety of children, the recovery of missing children, and the public policies that keep children safe in their communities.
If you go to polyclass.org, you can donate to the foundation to support their mission. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Hi School Board, I'm Justin, and in the class activities we've been doing are in science. The 8th grade science classes have been doing sport activities, and in PE we're learning how to do rope climbs, truss falls, and cargo net climbs. Bye School Board. Hey School Board, I'm Justin, and I'm going to be asking Maddie a few questions about last semester. So Maddie, what was your favorite class of last year?
Probably leadership.
Leadership? Why?
It's just a lot more to do in the other classes, and you're not just like sitting there for the whole time. You're like doing stuff.
Hey School Board, welcome back. I'm interviewing Alyssa with her favorite school activities. So Alyssa, what is your favorite school activity?
I would say volleyball because it's really fun and it's just something else to do other than school.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was worth the wait.
That
That
was
was so
great. That was
cute.
adorable.
That was great.
Really, really cute. I love the music.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Next up, comments from the public on non-agendized items. All right. So if you have a comment on something that is not on the agenda, please put your first and last name in the chat and what you would like to speak about. We're going to leave the chat open for a couple minutes to give people a chance to say if they want to participate in public comment time. And while that is happening, I'm going to read our public policy, sorry, our public comment policy. All right. Under Government Code Section 54954.3a, members of the public have the right to address the governing board on any items of interest, providing it relates to the subject matter jurisdiction of the school district. While Government Code allows speakers to criticize the district's policies, procedures, programs, services, and/or employees, the district does have a policy specific to complaints against employees. Should comments from the public pertain to a specific district employee, the board requests that the complaint first be submitted in writing to the employee's immediate supervisor for investigation. If the comment is about something that is not on the agenda, it will be heard only during the public comment on non-agendized items, period. Once that part of the meeting is over, comments will only be taken on agenda items during the discussion of those items. The board values public comments, and although we cannot take action or discuss items not on the agenda, we listen carefully and appreciate input from the public. Public comments are subject to a 4-minute per person limit or a 20-minute limit per subject matter. Additionally, a public speaker can be cut off for exceeding the allotted time or for willfully causing an actual disruption to the meeting. Before cutting a person off or removing someone, the board will give at least one clear warning. If you are cut off or warned previously, please consider that your warning. You can also submit your input in writing by email or other means to the superintendent, board members, or other designated staff member. All right. We'll leave the chat open for another minute or two. All right, I think we're going to close the chat. Actually, we are going to close the chat. And our first commenter is Zaira Garcia.
Hey, good evening, school board. Thank you. I'm actually here on behalf of Indivisible Petaluma and our members. I just want to say thank you to the district staff, all of your employees on every site of your schools, your educators, and the school board. You all are doing an amazing job through this pandemic, and I am very appreciative. And I'm not the only one. I might be the only one commenting tonight, but I can tell you that your work has not gone unnoticed. And I really wanted to share my gratitude towards your, and especially leadership, President Pond. It really exemplifies your leadership, and it trickles down to our educators and our city staff. There has been an amazing, cohesive transparency, clear communication, and I really appreciate it. And also, I will say that I applaud Matthew, your superintendent. At first, I was a little skeptical, just because, equity through racial lens has been lacking before we ever elected Joanna Pond, Caitlin Quinn, and Maddie Cloud. But you all have been so thoughtful in every hire, and the people that you trust. And it has really shown this year and the past couple of years. And I want to thank you, as a community organizer. You all probably have heard me. You have seen my name. You have, I have criticized the school board in previous years. But today I want to come forth and just say that your superintendent has proved me wrong, because he has shown us through the work that he does. He really is putting forth and center equity and having those uncomfortable conversations when it comes to race. So I thank you for the work that you're doing. And I really wish that our city council members could see that report, specifically from the adult schools. I wish they knew that we are a diverse community, that it's not just Spanish languages, that we have other languages as well. So hopefully maybe I can send this link so that they know that there are other languages that Petaluma needs to uplift as well. Anyways, so that's enough about you all. But again, I appreciate your work that you're doing. Your work is not unnoticed, and we and members and community are very, very thankful, and for keeping our community safe. I know this is very hard. It has been a burden on you all, and you're appreciated. And if I had the means, I would take you all for dinners, a month of supplies of dinners. But for now, hopefully others will be inspired to thank you individually for however they can. But I appreciate you all. So thank you.
Thank you, Zaira. Okay, looks like up next we have Amy Carter.
Good evening, trustees. It's an honor to be here, especially on a night when we're celebrating such great work happening at our schools. My name is Dr. Amy Carter, and I've met with several of you, but I'm running for Sonoma County Superintendent of Schools. I live right here in Petaluma for the last 9 years and have some proud Petaluma high school graduates in my family. But just wanted to touch base tonight and extend the invitation to all of you and to our community. I'm local. I'd love to chat with parents, educators, students, anybody that's passionate about schools. I'm here, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about our direction. We've just been through such a challenging time with this pandemic and seen such incredible work by our staff and our educators. But I want to keep that momentum and that innovation going and partner with all of you to continue this great work that we just heard about from Indivisible Petaluma and the work that you all are doing. So again, you can find out more about me at my website. It's carter4schools.org. My phone number is 707-347-6373. But love to hear your thoughts on education and put that invitation out here. And if there's anything I can do to support your work, don't hesitate to let me know. Appreciate all you're doing. Have a good night.
All right, thank you, Amy.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you.
Up next, we have Phoebe Ellis.
Oh, good evening. Happy New Year. Welcome back, Gary, for an interim slot there. Nice to see you. I just wanted to, again, thank everyone for their time as always. And then it's really become a concern that we've completely lost sight of educating children, I feel like. The pandemic is completely on the forefront of all education. Communication, that's all that we hear about. I don't know the last time I've heard anything about learning, how kids are doing in school, how they're thriving. Are they thriving? How are they doing mental health wise? We've completely lost sight of our youth, and it's really concerning. Every article in the newspaper talks about COVID protocols, COVID testing. I heard a story today that student athletes are standing in line for over 1 hour during class time to get COVID tested, that they don't get their results for up to 2 days. They're going to go to practice tonight or games or a wrestling match and then potentially be positive 2 days later. So what are we accomplishing other than kids not going to class and being completely focused on COVID and keeping them allegedly safe? So I think we need to somehow, I'm asking that the board or administrator, someone talk to the Sonoma County Department of Health that what is going on is illogical at this time. Like, kids need to be in the classroom learning, participating in sports, learning how to be a friend, socializing, learning to laugh, to smile, to read, to do math, to write. I mean, it's going on and on. It is just completely, we've become obsessed with it, and our young people are suffering. I see it at all levels. I have friends that have kids that are in elementary schools. I have a high school student. I mean, I know people that have college students. I mean, it's really becoming a concern. And here we are 2 years later, and we've completely lost focus of our mission to educate youth. So I'm just hoping that, we can somehow redirect, refocus. And obviously I am not minimizing COVID or the importance of everyone being safe, but sitting in a classroom with a mask on, seems to be keeping people safe. But now we're not allowed to be spectators at sport. Like, parents can't go watch their kids participate in a sporting event. I mean, what are we doing to people here? So I just really hope that others can get on board and support the mission of getting back to focusing on our young people and really taking care of them and educating them. So thank you all.
All right, thank you, Phoebe. Next up, Mitch Hayden. Is that right?
Yes, thank you, Board of Education.
And to echo what the previous speaker had just said, I have a little bit different take on that. I'm a concerned parent with 2 students at Petaluma High School, and am concerned about the recent Omicron spike. It's not a curve; it's a vertical line straight up. We have had 140% increase in cases recently in Sonoma County. And I have my own reasons for being concerned because I'm immunosuppressed with an organ transplant. And my kids are sitting in their classroom with a mask, but they are not safe. From some numbers I've gathered from my children and rumors floating around the school, at the one high school that my kids go to, they've said there's over 60 students that are out with COVID. And my student science teacher was out with likely COVID today. And although I give credit to the Petaluma City Schools and the communication and the monitoring, they're doing a very good job of that and going to be providing tests to those that have close contact. That does not alleviate my concern because we're not preventing the spread. We're only responding to infection. And I called Petaluma High School today to talk to a vice principal about if there's been any discussion about moving or providing remote learning opportunities for students, because they are suffering and they are scared, and they're scared of being infected by COVID. And I was told that there were other opportunities for education, and that I could either dual enroll or pull my kids out of the current high school, of which I have a sophomore and a senior, and switch to an independent type study school. But that's not going to work. And I'd like to bring your attention to the recent health orders by Sonoma County that have limited indoor and outdoor activities. They set the indoor number at 50. Well, if we remember less than a year ago, I think the number was 10. So I'm not sure, where those numbers are coming from, but I think 30 kids in a classroom meets that definition. And also noted today, Sonoma State University is going to remote learning. And that I would like the board to consider opening discussions to providing remote learning opportunities to those students that have COVID, to those students that are concerned about getting COVID, or to those families that have special circumstances.
You have about 30 seconds left, Mitch. I just want to let you know.
To provide remote learning opportunities or some hybrid type remote learning example. That's all I have to say. Thank you much for your time.
All right, thank you. Okay, I think that's it for now for public comment. Report on activities and correspondence of school board members since the last board meeting. We had board office hours at San Antonio, Valley Oaks, Sonoma Mountain High School, Budget Advisory Committee, CHIPA, and our student board member participated in 3 soccer games. Yes. All right. Next up, comments from the public on consent agenda items. So the same policy applies in terms of public comment. If you would like to comment on something in the consent agenda, please put your first and last name in the chat and the item that you would like to speak about.
This would only be the items that are under number 12. items 12 on the board agenda. I don't think we have anybody.
Well, I had to leave.
Okay. All right, so we are going to close the chat. We don't have any public comment about this section of the agenda. So we have adoption and approval of the agenda by consolidated motion.
I move to adopt the approval of consent agenda by consolidated motion.
I'll second.
All right, any questions or comments?
I do.
Okay.
First of all, I just want to say how wonderful the ratification of the Carl Moore Program Grant Agreement is. When I was reading that, I got chills. I was so happy to see that. I'm curious about the purchase of the 200 Dells. I remember when we first started talking about the Chromebooks, one of the ways that we were making it more affordable was the bring your own device piece. So I'm just wondering where the money is coming from for these new Dells.
That's you.
Want me to answer that, Dave? Sure. So we, remember we set aside some money for replacement of Wonderland devices. Anyway, so we're using some of that money to replace the Dells.
Okay.
You know, we're going through the COVID dollars. There's a possibility we could also spend some of our COVID dollars because, you know, all of our one-to-one devices are supporting ongoing learning that has some components that have changed during COVID. So, but right now we're proposing using some of the money in the one-to-one device fund that we set aside a while ago.
So the bring your own devices piece is not very effective, or?
There's been some challenges, and Dave may want to speak to that specifically. It has created some unique challenges that we did not anticipate at the time.
Yeah.
So
I think that would probably be a good thing to bring back as an item to discuss, because that's a big topic if you wanted to look at how that's going, unless you want any off-the-cuff response from
Dave. I was
Dave.
just curious when I saw that, because I remember the conversation about bring your own device, and so it doesn't need to be a big deal. I'm just curious.
Let's get the mic here.
You're gonna sing
Nice to see you all. It's my first song this evening. Anyhow.
You're a natural, Dave.
Thanks. Put a little practice. The current participation rate in bring your own device is only 6%.
Okay.
So 270 devices would get us to a 1-to-1 at the high school level.
Oh, okay.
So the 200 is getting us close. There are some cybersecurity concerns that have come up over the last year or so, that having unmanaged devices on our network it presents. And so we want to work toward being 1-to-1 at the high schools by next year, hopefully. It's not, we need to have a process around that, which we have not had. And so, but in starting to move toward that, we're proposing that we purchase these devices.
Okay.
And also these devices will support CASP testing in the spring.
Oh, yes,
Of which we end up needing to supply devices to students at the 11th grade level for CASP testing. And we don't have any extra devices available right now for that.
Okay.
But I can come back and present more toward the end of the year, if that.
Yeah, I was just curious, because I just remembered our discussion.
I know we had hoped to have about 30% participation rate, and in the first year it was higher than 6%, but it has dwindled.
Okay.
Maybe because the devices that we provide are, pretty nice, and so it's appealing, I think, to use them. So.
Thanks.
Dave, when you said there's cybersecurity issues, you were referring to cybersecurity issues for the bring your Your own devices?
Yeah, so by
onto our platform.
Yeah, onto our network. Yeah, because we can't control as much of what those devices are able to do. And so they present unique cybersecurity potential threats by being inside of our network.
Thank you. Well, while you have the mic, actually, can you talk to us? Can you talk to us about the frontline education?
That was my
The help desk?
Oh, okay.
Sure. So the current systems that we use are not connected to each other. So for inventory management, we assign devices to students in our student information system. And then we track any problems or issues with those devices physically in spreadsheets. And then we take trouble tickets through something called Freshdesk. And so all of those systems have unique data sets that then we have to try and bring together to have actionable information about how many devices are broken, whose devices are breaking, and there's no interoperability between them at this time. So what we're proposing is using a solution that would allow for the people who are providing the support to see all of the factors about a device in one place. So they can look the device up and mark it as in repair status. They can see how many repairs have been on it, if it's had a screen replacement, all of these kinds of things. Whereas at the time, right now, our technicians are having to go to about 4 different places to get all of that information to be tracked. And so the benefit of having that information too is that we'll have more accurate information about where and what is happening with our devices, and we can plan better and have a clearer picture of what's going on there.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
No,
That's great. Thank you.
I just wanted you to explain it so people knew what you were doing.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really a great idea, frankly.
Yeah, me too.
So
I would also add that it, under GASB 34, we're supposed to be tracking many of our equipment like that, and it allows us to have a better software system that if we had some sort of emergency, like a flood or a fire, that we would be able to more readily replace and know what devices were there, how they were funded. So there's a lot of layers to this program that far exceed what we're currently doing from a if there was an emergency and from an accounting perspective. So I think it's a great plan. So
thank you.
Money well spent.
All right, Katie, did you have any questions about anything?
No.
Okay, all right, let's make sure, Sheldon, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to draw public attention to number 12.2.7, electric buses. I just want to make sure you get the opportunity, Chris, to give some kudos to your staff for bringing that in. And what number does this bring the total to now?
Yeah.
It's like 20.
Well, no, we currently have 5 new electric buses. This is adding 12, so we'll have 17 of the 26 that we generally own. But yeah, no, it's super exciting. And the biggest part about this grant is that it gives us almost $1 million to our infrastructure, because in order to use the buses, we need to have charging stations, which we have some rented ones right now that we're using. But this way we'll actually upgrade the electrical, get a unique meter, because the meter will give us lower rates for the charging stations, which we don't have right now, as well as purchasing 15 new charging stations and installations. So,
and that's all part of the grant?
That's all part of it. There's almost $1 million in the grant. It's currently in design. And we're working with PG&E to do their end of it, because they have to bring in a new switchgear and a new meter. And then from on our side of the meter, then we'll do all the infrastructure upgrades. So we're super excited. And we're also contemplating looking into replacing some of our white fleet, which is very old. We're talking maintenance and grounds vehicles. There's some brand new electric trucks out that are getting really good reviews. So we're looking at state contracts so that we can also start shifting our white fleet. I don't know if you're tracking on, but the city has a goal of moving away from all gasoline in the county, but the city of Petaluma in particular, in the next 10 years. So we're going to be actively bringing back other things. Unfortunately, most of our trucks are too small to get grants for them, but they're old enough they need to be replaced. And so I'd rather spend money or recommend spending money for a new electric fleet, several at a time. So anyway, stay tuned on that, but we're super excited.
Chris, if the city is wanting to move that way, will they be of any help to us in replacing some of those?
Financially?
Yeah. Yay, city council.
But, we are working with them. We are working with them on some tree projects and some other stuff. So, I mean, they've been good collaborators, but not from a, let's give you money.
Fiscally, everybody's problem. So then I think I might be confused then, because I thought this was in addition to the 15 electric buses we were getting from the VW grant. I mean, the 5 that we already have, and then we were supposed to get more.
This is the formal agreement.
Oh, okay.
For that grant.
Okay.
So we have to attest and agree to, okay, we agree to do all of these things, including disposing of the 15 buses that are being replaced. We cannot sell them. We have to get them to a dismantler, basically, to actually get them off the road. So there's several things that we're agreeing to in the grant, so that's what this is all about. But these are the 15 buses.
These are the 15
and the infrastructure, and it's a lot of money. It's almost $5 million.
Yeah, yeah.
And they have seat belts.
And so
they have seat belts, and some of them are wheelchair, and some of them aren't. We kind of listed out.
Yeah,
that was
great.
in the thing.
Yeah.
So the purchase order for it was like 4 million something.
Mm-hmm.
That will be reimbursed by the grant.
Yes. So we purchase. So we get the money. Yes. So we purchase.
Yeah.
And then we provide proof of the purchase, and then they reimburse us, similar to the way the 5 buses work.
Yay, it's so exciting.
It's so great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You guys are
whoever wrote the grant.
on it.
Yes.
I'll just say that was Marcia Short, so I want to give credit to her.
Kudos.
Tell her again.
We worked on it together, but she did the lion's share of work.
And she was my student.
All right. Any more questions on the consent agenda? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, comments from the public on action items. So if you have a comment on one of the action items, there's only 2.
There's one.
There's one.
There's one.
It's just
So we'll just leave the chat open for like just a moment.
So again, this would just be speaking on, in regard to 14.1.1. Comment on board meeting, planning as per AB 361. Pretty heady stuff.
All right, let's go ahead and close the chat on this. Doesn't look like there's any public comment. All right, so does anyone have any comments about this, about continuing in this hybrid fashion, or what do you guys think?
I'm wondering with how intense the virus is right now, can we go back? Should we go back to Zoom meeting? I mean, I don't know if, I hated Zoom meetings, but at the same time, it's kind of dicey out there these days.
I mean, I feel comfortable, like we're spaced, we don't have on, good masks, there's good ventilation. I mean, I'm okay with the hybrid. What about you, Sheldon? What do you
I'm
think?
good. I think if our kids are in the classrooms, we should be here.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
Maddie?
my feeling.
it was just a
That
question.
if our teachers and staff and kids are in,
Then we should be too.
What about you, Katie? How are you feeling about continuing in the hybrid mode?
These meetings,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's great that we're able to meet in person. I
Okay.
think that if somebody tests positive, maybe then, I think that it's great that we can meet in person. I think the only reason we should reconsider is if somebody gets a positive test or has been around a lot of us. So, yeah.
Good point. And I think, we have an amazing COVID staff in this district with access to at-home tests and PCRs. I think if anyone's not feeling well, we all are, responsible and, either participating online or just staying home. So, all right.
I don't know whether this is related, so I wasn't sure where to put it, but maybe it's about office hours. And
having office hours in
Yeah, so I
person?
don't know, should I wait until future business?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's good. That's not sure where that fits either. Okay. All right. So it looks like we're going to continue meeting in person and streaming. Thank you, Dave and Ashley, for keeping these meetings going in a hybrid fashion. Now this one, it is action item. Okay. All right. So
I move to approve AB 361.
I think we need to identify option 2 down there, right?
Okay.
The hybrid model where we are in person and the public can participate online. You see at the bottom. So is that
That's AB 361, isn't it?
So it provides that. So you want to,
okay.
you would say
On here,
the
there's more
continuation
info.
of model.
Okay.
So you want to expand upon your
AB 361, option 2, hybrid model.
All right.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, so next up, Jason Williams quarterly settlement information. Looks like everything's good.
All good.
It was all great.
All great. Okay. Not good, but great. Okay.
We love to hear that.
Next up, COVID update. So our substitute superintendent and staff, welcome back, Gary.
Second hand. Happy to be the second fiddle. So tonight we want to talk about some of the work that we're doing specifically in conjunction with some of the things that are constantly evolving at the state level, at the local level, to monitor the spread of the Omicron variant, which is the predominant strain that we're dealing with right now. And what services are we providing to ensure that our students are safe? I think the most important thing, I think, to remember in all of this is this was all predicted based on a lot of research related to the spread of these types of viruses, and predicted in the sense of when you have non-controlled environments, such as people go on vacations and people are off during periods of multiple weeks, and you have lots of interactions, and it's a non-controlled environment, meaning that I think that Katie would agree, as we would, that the world at Petaluma High School or Casa Grande is very, very different than the world outside in the community, as far as masking requirements, is that we have very, very strict protocols and procedures. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, I totally agree with you, and I think, I mean, I was taking some notes during some of the public comments, but I think the school can only do so much with stopping the spread. I think somebody commented on how they're reacting, but when you don't have control over who students are seeing outside of after hours, what family members they visited over the holidays, what sports they're playing, it's hard to really you can't keep track of all that stuff. So it's obviously people are going to bring COVID to school if they're seeing all of these other people.
I have a question for you, Katie, along those lines. There was also a comment about sports, and I know you're an athlete. Did you want to share anything about that?
Well, Phoebe mentioned that during class there are like an hour-long line of kids getting COVID tested, and there was just an email that got sent out about kids testing every week for indoor sports. And I do think that it's a little bit of an issue that kids are wasting so much time getting tested during the school day. I think it's important that we contact trace and all of that and make sure that all of our indoor athletes are getting tested because they're in such a closed environment and regulating spectators. I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but personally, I think when you're in a like confined space like that, it's important that we do test everyone, but I don't think that doing it during school hours when kids are falling behind already and missing a lot of stuff already from being absent, that pulling them out of class for long periods of time is like doing any good.
That's a great point. So then should it happen like at the beginning of practice rather than during, I mean, when do you think it should happen?
Well, I just think either after school hours or during times like we have A+. We have 30 minutes of A+ every day except for Wednesday. That might be a good time when kids are, it's like a homework time, meeting with teachers. That might be a good alternative than pulling kids out of class to do that.
Absolutely.
Or maybe doing it before school, like having student athletes like one day a week come in before school hours or even right after school, like having the testing hours shift a little bit so that kids can accommodate to their schedule and such.
I just wonder if it's taking so long. Thank you, Katie, for sharing. Because of the current surge, or has it always taken this long? So that's something else we should.
Yeah, so I think we probably will cover a lot of that.
Okay.
In the point that I was trying to get us to, and I think Katie hit on some of it, is there are a tremendous amount of variables that are out there, and it grows exponentially, and the level of interactions that are taking place in non-controlled environments goes up exponentially. And so none of the data that has come in the last 2 weeks surprises the researchers who are telling us this was taking place. The flip side of that, though, is that if you look very clearly at the CDC guidelines, if you look very clearly at the California Department of Public Health guidelines, which we all have up on our website and we provided, and if you look very clearly at the Sonoma County Department of Public Health website, that all of those agencies believe that students being in school, if they are following COVID protocols that have all been approved, are in a safe environment. And so we could agree to disagree on that, and some families, I'm sure, do. We've heard from a concern tonight, but Dr. Mace's made it very clear from Sonoma County Public Health that if our schools are following our COVID safety guidelines, and the critical ones, which we harp on over and over again, one of them is obviously the masking portion of that, is that we can maintain some element of safety at our school sites. And the initial data that's coming back supports that. So what we're going to do tonight a little bit is we're going to talk a little bit about things from a human resources perspective. We're going to talk a little bit about things from a student services perspective, from business operations, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the newer pieces of information that have come down, the new orders that are there. So hopefully you're going to get a pretty good sense of where we are. And this school district was very lucky that it was able to receive its rapid antigen tests right around Christmas time. Contrary to popular belief, that did not happen throughout the state. This is one of the few school districts that was able to receive those. And credit to the COVID staff, and because we have a COVID team that's dedicated to this, they jumped on it and started to distribute these immediately. The idea behind the rapid antigen testing, that was the kits that were provided by the governor, the idea behind it was to try to get a baseline on Monday. And that opportunity was lost in most districts. In this particular district, however, a great number of them, to the tune of about 6,600, I believe, were distributed. And so we're going to start first, I believe, with Jason. Is that correct? No, correct? And then we're going to go basically from department to department, talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on internally, and then we'll bring it back around to the recent order that's coming effective tonight at midnight.
Thank you.
I also think it's really important to point out that we can't go to distance learning. That's a state mandate. And I also want to thank Brian for distributing all those kits during winter break. I thought that was, I want to publicly thank him.
So I was gonna touch on that, but since you brought it up, might as well do it now. So what Trustee Webster is saying is that there is a remote learning option in the state of California right now. There is only one option, and that is independent study. There is not another option on the table currently. That may change. I will tell you, not likely in this administration. Particularly if it hasn't happened yet, it probably won't, but right now, the district is following the one option that's available, which is independent study.
And Gary, can I also just add, on top of the acknowledgement for the COVID team here at Petaluma People Services also came in and volunteered their time at Kavanaugh Center on the Saturday to distribute lots of tests. And there was literally, I came in to get more tests to them because they were going through them. And there was a line almost around the block. So kudos to Petaluma People Services who actually helped out that Saturday as well.
You got it, Jason?
I got it. Okay. So consistent with districts across the state and across the country, we are feeling the surge of COVID-19 as we come out of a 2-week break, out of winter break, and the variant hitting at the same time. That being said, as many people have said, our COVID team's been amazing. They've been working tirelessly. They've upped their work level to try and match that. It's a lot, and so when we have long lines and things like that, that's where we're at with this, with the situation. Just the system stretching as far as it can to try and meet the need. Our principals have also been working really tirelessly to ensure that our classes are covered. And so far, our principals have been able to meet the need for all of our classrooms that they've been able to, either if we haven't been able to find subs, because we're starting to see, at the beginning of the year, we really had a sub shortage and we were, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We were expecting that, and at the first of last week, we didn't have that at the beginning, but we're starting to see that now. Our principals have been able to meet the need to cover those classes, to make sure students have qualified teachers in their classroom every single day. So that's really a testament to our principals and all of our staff for being able to shift and meet the need. I wanted to share with you just some numbers about our absences, because absences are affecting us. So this, we saw that starting on Monday of last week.
We're talking about employee absences.
Yes,
Chris
I'm
will
sorry.
get into attendance.
Yeah, just sticking with the human resources side, all of our employees. So I'm going to start first with teachers. So these are any teachers, not only classroom teachers, but anyone that's on the certificated side, because that's how our system tracks it. But at Monday, we were in the low 30s the first couple of days, 33 to 35 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We started to see it climb up and to where it's in the high 30s, low 40s. Our average for the 7 days since we've come back is a 37.7, and 38 teachers on average out per day, if that makes sense. So that's an average of those 7 days. Comparing that to before we left on break, just that week before we left, the average for that week was 23 per day. So we're seeing, I mean, that's a significant jump. That's a 64% increase between that week and this week, which kind of further accentuates what an amazing job our sites have done to make sure that we're covering classes. The reason they're able to do that is because early on they developed protocols for, if we're short a sub, what's our plan? They came up with a backup plan. And so what we also have is we don't know where this is going. We now have a backup plan to the backup plan. So we have contingencies at a district level if we are falling short at certain sites with their ability to cover classes. We're just trying to be proactive and prepared for whatever might come forward.
Jason?
Yeah.
Just, it doesn't differentiate between whether these are COVID absences or?
No. Thank you. That's a great question. These don't differentiate COVID absences. Obviously, we know with the increase, we know a huge part of that is, or a majority of it probably is, we can surmise that it's related, but this doesn't. This is just strictly absences in our employee tracking system. When teachers put in for subs, that's the system that they use. And so that's where we pulled those numbers. This is also impacting the absences that we see in our classified staff. So the rate wasn't quite as much. This, first of all, the other numbers that I'm going to give you now are for all of our staff. That doesn't actually include all of our staff because not all of our staff, all of our classified necessarily report into this system. So it's a ballpark, but it's not everyone. So it probably is might be a little bit lower, but comparing the week before we left for break, we were averaging 45.6 employees a day that week that were both teachers and not teachers total that were out. And this last 7 days, we're at 65.4. So it's about a 43% increase. So we're seeing an increase on both sides. And all of our teams have been really innovative in terms of looking at where the needs are and redeploying support case by case based on the most important needs that our schools are facing. So any questions on that? I mean, we can have some examples.
Anecdotally, for example, we've had challenges in the food service department, and because we've had to look at the operations side and say, okay, what's the highest priority, right? So we have some groundskeepers, for example, who used to do food service. So we would pull from those ranks and say, hey, we need you to help out in food, because honestly, making sure kids are served meals trumps mowing the lawns. And so those are some of the things that we've looked at in really trying to pinpoint where the resources are needed based on the actual need, and kind of looking at a priority level being student support, of course, first and foremost. And then secondarily, I would say too, we've added a whole bunch of floater custodial positions over the past year because of the pandemic, and those have really helped us be able to manage and maintain the high level of cleaning and sanitizing that we're doing, regardless of whether we have staff out in those areas. So that's also been a really good thing for us.
Yeah, we another example, we had the office staff at some of our schools, one of our schools was out, and so the district office is, also helping out in those situations. Esmeralda went down there and was the front desk at one of our schools on one day. We have coordinators that are going to help with supervision. So it is really all hands on deck to make sure that we're meeting the needs as it comes up.
So now we take a look at, taking a look at attendance and taking a look at attendance for the beginning of the year and looking at that first P1, that's one item. And then of course, looking specifically at the absence averages that are taking place over the last 6-7 days that since students have been back. Chris is going to kind of go over those two. They're both equally significant numbers. The first one, significant for a variety of reasons that Chris will go over. And then the second one will give you a snapshot about where we are, given the fact that we did pass out all of these tests, so we knew we were going to get back some element of positivity from those administration of those rapid antigen tests.
So we went through and we've been tracking since we came back on Monday, the 3rd of January, what our absences are every single day for the past 6 days, so Monday to Monday. We haven't, we're still gathering data for today. So we're looking at a 6-day average. And we broke it K6, all of the K6 schools, including Cherry Valley, which is K8, but generally this is K6. And we have about 2,435 students enrolled. And we're not counting home hospital or special day class, or non-public school. And the average absent rate is about 15.3%. So that's the absent rate, the absenteeism rate, which is about, on average, 372 students a day total K-6, including the 7-8 at Cherry Valley.
372?
Yes, or a percentage of 15.3. I'm sorry, that's the average per day. Okay?
So the average has been 15.3?
15.3 for the past. No, our attendance rate is more like 96% typically. And I'll get into actual attendance rates later. I'm just looking at absenteeism for the past 6 days. But usually it hovers around 5% on any average year, and that's a total year. So when we look at the secondary, and so that's 7th through 12th grade, that's about 4,600 students, 4,605. And the absenteeism rate is 15.4%. So very similar to what we see at the elementary on an aggregate or an average. And, when we look at the alt ed, which are very small, obviously one student can represent a large percentage when you have a small student population, the percentages are obviously way higher. But when we look at the comprehensives, they're pretty, across the board, 14 to 15%, around 14% for the junior high and around 15% at the high school level. So it's a high percentage, but it means 85% of the kids are in school.
Are they all COVID related?
We're not tracking it that way.
Okay.
Because we can only, our system shows attending or not attending. So we did not track it. This is 100% of absences.
Okay.
And I'm sure that some of them are not COVID related. They're, you know what I mean? But this does indicate, 15% versus 5% would be a more typical average. So that's how the absenteeism has worked for the past 6 days since we've been back from winter break. We also, over winter break, completed what's called P1 or period 1 attendance. So we track attendance at 3 points during the year. P1, which is for us around December 3rd. P2, which is around the end of March, and that's our apportionment ADA, it's P2. And then we do annual, which is at the end of the year. So this is P1. It's kind of our snapshot into what we think P2 is going to typically look like. P2 typically being lower. And I would highlight the fact that this is, as of early December, through the start of school through early December, does not include the January surge that we're seeing. So we're comparing it to 2019-20. So in 2019-20, the total district, all charters, all of our our dependent charters, we had about 7,450 students, roughly, as of that first week in December, 2019, because 19-20 is what we're comparing to. And our attendance rate, so not our absence, but our attendance rate was 96.54% at that time, which is, just under 7,200 ADA, 7,193. Now we're comparing that to P1 for this year, and our enrollment was 7,133 students as of the first week in December. That does not include kinders or TKs that are non-apportionment TKs. So there's about 30 kids there, probably 30 more kids in the seats at that time. But because December 2nd is the cutoff date for the state window right now, it doesn't include those other kids whose birthdays are outside of the window. But the more compelling thing is our attendance rate is 94.06%. So that's 2.5% less. And you might say, well, what does that mean? Well, that's 178. At 2.5% on our current enrollment is 178 ADA. A significant amount of loss just when we compare on this year's enrollment, the attendance rate, the attendance factor from 2 years ago versus what it is now. And that does not include the January surge. That's as of the first week in December, roughly. So I just wanted to highlight that difference. So our enrollment, first week in December 2019, first week in December 2021, it's a loss of about 318 kids. The ADA drop is 484 because you're seeing that increase or decrease in the actual student attendance.
So
that's a pretty significant drop in ADA.
So while there's some huge potential financial implications related to just a 2%, it's a double-edged sword. The 2% is significant for financial purposes down the road, particularly depending on what the governor decide and the legislature decide to do as far as how they're going to allow us to take attendance for next year. But the flip side of that is in addition to the early emergence of the variant, COVID has been alive and well during that entire period, and we saw a 2% loss. 2% is not from purposes of impact on variant or COVID impact on school district is not a great number for that. It's just a 2% loss. It just happens to be mathematically significant. But that's important. It's a double-edged sword on this, is when it reaffirms that when we're following protocols and procedures, that students have been able to demonstrate, as staff have, that we can create a safe environment in a school setting. The data is very, very clear in that, and that's part of the reason I believe why the county, all the health officials from national level down to local level have been very clear about their feeling about the safety of the schools.
Because really that means that 94% of our student population was attending school from the first day of school through December 3rd, roughly. So 94% of students were showing up every day. Of course, that's dropped the first week in January. And to Gary's point, I mean, in my entire career, we have tracked ADA, and when we see ADA slipping by even 0.25%, we're like, we need to get our attendance up, because 0.25%
Yes.
is a pretty significant, can represent a significant dollar loss in any given year. The good news is this year we're being funded back on that 2019-20 ADA. And remember, we did not track average daily attendance last year because of the virtual environment. We didn't track it. But if we don't get that hold harmless from the state for next year, and we're using current year ADA, typically we have the ability to say, we get to use the higher of the current year ADA or the prior year ADA. And I'm not sure that that's going to be an option for us given how low our attendance is this year. So even if our enrollment drops more next year, which I'm projecting it will, I'm not sure we'll have this year as a protection because the attendance is so low. So that's why it's essential that, you know, we really send the message to our state legislators that we really need that hold harmless for next year.
So now we're going to take a look at the testing, some of the testing numbers, data. Do you want to jump in and out?
Yeah, I just want to follow up on the attendance. Collect my thought here. I just lost the first thing. You know, the commenters who talked about going to remote, which, you know, isn't technically, you know, we saw Hayward take this move to go remote. They're risking their huge amounts of their budget by doing this. And I don't think, it doesn't sound like to me that dropping 2% is at that threshold where we are, you know, risking a lot of health and safety of our students. But strategically, Chris, you know, if the public health people are saying that this month is the peak, and we have a fire week that we haven't used, do we have an option to do that, to use it now during a projected peak if we wanted to without risking state budget, you know, for like Hayward is doing?
You know,
flip-flopping, so it's
We didn't have a fire, so we have this 2-week
Right.
spring break that we haven't used. Do we have that option?
So the reality is yes and no. Yes, the district could take action to say, because of the low attendance, we're going to use those 5 days, right, per student. Does it help our ADA? The answer is no. And the reason is because P2 cuts off before that time. So P2 is in around the middle, like third week in March, which is right as we're going out on spring break. So it's right around, I don't know the exact date, but it's just before spring break. So even if we operated school, it's out of the P2 window. Now we will be looking at our ADA and seeing how we can maximize. And are there days that we can request a waiver? If there's a particular day that a particular school dropped a significant level, we'll be looking at, can we use that drop in ADA as a rationale to request a waiver, an emergency waiver of that day? Because we still operated in person. There's a whole bunch of guidelines that came out from the state to the county offices, who they forwarded on to us today, actually saying, okay, as a reminder, you can't close down because of COVID, and that's not justifiable for an emergency day. But here's all the reasons that you can justify requesting a waiver. So we will definitely be looking at that when we prepare our P2. We'll be looking at all sorts of ways and calculating it with and without certain days to try to maximize. We can't do that right now because we really honestly don't know what's going to happen between now and March. But we'll be looking at that.
I think one of the bigger questions that districts are facing that they've had that discussion is if by going on break exacerbates a condition, how is going on break helping the condition? You're exacerbating it again, because the reality is that most people still have not contracted the variant. And so you're dealing with that, you're still dealing with the issue if you go to a break period. And so it's a little bit counterintuitive.
Yeah, it's the same as.
Katie had a question.
Well, I was just gonna say that a lot of my friends got COVID over the break, and then a lot of them thought they did, or even there's kids coming to school and going home with, oh, I have a headache, or oh, they have some kind of symptom, but it's not COVID related. And then they have to wait to get a PCR test back. And so I had 2 friends who this past school week were home all week waiting for their PCR test, an entire 5 days of school, and they felt 100% fine, and they came back negative, and they missed a whole week for no reason, basically, for good precaution. And I don't understand, or I don't have a way we can work around that, but I think a reason that we probably have a lot of absences right now on top of COVID cases is because kids who just have a symptom or two, not un-COVID related, are having to stay home as well.
That's a great point.
Glad you brought that up, because that is a good segue to, we'll talk a little bit about that, the issue related to testing results, which do not come to us, in the PCR format. They go to the individual. So Maite is going to cover all things related to testing, and there's a lot of good things that have been taking place and some challenges that we've had.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Maybe up a little bit, Dave.
Am I good? Okay, there we go. So I just want to start out by thanking Brian and his team, Stephanie, Kristen, Dana, Gigi, Kim, Ramona, the temp staff, Joe, Susan, and Fallon. They've been doing an amazing job under extraordinary circumstances, so I just want to be sure they're acknowledged. During the holiday break, Brian and the team passed out 6,500 rapid antigen tests. As Gary mentioned, we were one of the few districts that were able to do that. As a result of that, 250 students and staff did not come to school on January 3rd. So we helped prevent some spread there. So that was excellent news for us. We've had a significant increase in the walk-ins for PCR. We're testing about 600 people a day.
Wow.
So things have slowed down significantly, particularly with the color system. They actually had a little bit of an issue a couple of days ago where they had stopped producing results and slowed down. They're back up now, from my understanding, but that did slow us down a little bit. The COVID team is spending the majority of their time contact tracing and making sure that people have access to testing. So that's what a majority of their time is being spent doing. We're seeing a relatively low transmission rate among in school. It was as a result of the holidays. And then districts throughout the state are really working to digest the new isolation procedures, and we'll have some information coming out about that tomorrow. We wanted to be really thoughtful about it and make sure that we were covering everything. So you'll see that coming out tomorrow in a Parent Square announcement. I can answer any questions that you may have.
Well, I'll tie into what our student trustee was referring to. There is the gentleman that spoke earlier is true. It's been a vertical spike, and the state, in this process of passing out tests and other services also promised some really rapid turnaround of tests, and that has not happened. And I would dispute the numbers that have come back, but according to our lab now, it's 99% now of their tests that are being administered and sent to them are being returned in 72 hours. Well, that's 72 hours still. So, and it's something like 75% of those are being returned in 20 or 48 hours. And so it's just this mass of testing results all coming into these same CDPH approved labs that is creating some of the issues related to people waiting to, and I have heard the same thing as you have seen and heard of individuals that have been waiting 4 to 5 days for their results. Now, most of those situations are related to close contacts. They've been identified as a close contact, so they're doing it as a preventative. And we've had to pivot our services to the rapid antigen tests, which is approved through Department of Public Health, so that we can be more responsive, because we do not have the people power to be able to do what we were doing in September, October, November, which was much smaller in numbers. And we have to be able to have individuals get a rapid test back to them as accurate as it can, and that's been approved by the state. So, and that's what most districts are doing. I don't know of any districts that were quite doing, still trying to go out to school sites and do individualized testing the way that we did it, which was to the credit of the team. The numbers are so great now that the priorities has to be being as responsive as quick as we can.
But there's a shortage of the rapid tests.
There's a shortage of everything. We're burning through our allotments. Chris jumped on and was able to procure some. So we hope that we have about a 7 to 10 day window, perhaps. But that's all dependent on what happens with the spike. But when we talk about transmission rates, what we're talking about is people that were close contacts that have been tested. They're not coming back to us in they're coming back in small percentages as, oh, I'm indeed positive. No, they still need to continue to do their testing, and certainly they need to test immediately if they start to experience any symptoms. But the contact tracing is leading to, again, it's leading primarily to events that took place outside of the school environment. And they can, in many instances, people can pinpoint what they believe. It's not an exact science, as we know, what they believe might have been the triggering event, triggering party, triggering a situation.
So an email came out yesterday about the COVID exposure like the change in the procedure. Can you talk about that? Like, how is it different than what was previously happening? Just so everyone's clear on that. And is this, yeah, go ahead.
So in the past, we were doing PCR tests, and PCR tests go to a lab, and as Gary mentioned, it takes 48, 72 hours for return. And because the number of close contacts, it was almost impossible to be able to administer the number of PCR tests that we had to do. So after talking and realizing that the state was approving the rapid antigen use, and we had rapid antigen tests, it was determined that the best course of action, that we would get the quickest results. And we developed a system that would allow families to test at home and report the results to us. And they're coming in as we were speaking tonight. I was watching them roll in. So parents are doing it with their kids at home, and then they will test again in 5 days. These are close contacts, a level of exposure. So they're not symptomatic, but we just want to monitor to make sure that they don't develop. So parents are given the test, the information on what to monitor for, and the process with how to upload the results.
And
So-
are they not being notified?
So when she says we developed a system, meaning we developed our procedures, these are the same systems that the great majority of school districts are using. We just hadn't implemented it. Utilization of the rapid antigen test has been the primary way that districts have been doing this. Most districts refer students and staff for testing to a third-party location. We actually did testing here. And so it's not a departure from this is the standard practice throughout the state. The standard practice on the rapid antigen test were to get them to the students and staff as quickly as possible. And that is your primary source that you're using, because the primary issue is people that identify themselves as positive cases, is making sure that the close contacts have an opportunity to test.
So instead of the close contacts, like Katie was saying, being tested at school, they're being sent home with the rapid test now. And then also there's not like the notice that there's been a school exposure, just.
The notices are still going home as far as there's an exposure.
Okay, I'm just looking at the email. So it's saying that there's going to be a change in the notification, right?
Yes, but it is the not a notice that there's a generalized school exposure.
Right.
There's generalized schools exposures every day in every school.
Yes.
That's what that's referring to.
So there's not going to be those anymore, at least for a while.
No, but there will continue to be notices related to classroom.
The class. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't understand.
No, it's okay. I did have some people ask me, and so I just wanted to make sure that was asked.
Although that may change too. We may do some modification on that because it's overwhelming. And so we haven't really drilled down into that, but that's having the experience coming in to be able to look at what other districts have been doing, and having the time to do that, because that's what you do when you're retired. You find that there's some other practices that we could employ, or so that the number one goal of our COVID team is to be as responsive as possible to our client base, and not have the situations like we brought up related to standing in line, and not have situations worse yet where you're telling folks we're going to test you by tomorrow and can't test you because there's just not enough hours in the day to be able to do that.
We're getting the test back so that we're hitting in 5 days.
Right.
Out of class for 5
Yeah, and
days.
that one's out of our hands because we passed that on. By the very nature of that test, you're passing that situation to a third party. The other thing, though, that Maite and her team have done as part of this process is we've automated some procedures so that, for example, information that you could collect in contact tracing, the individuals can start inputting that information rather than having a body have to have a one-on-one interview on a phone and do that repeatedly. A lot of that information can be gathered, and then if there's additional information that they need, to assist them in identifying students. I will tell you that most districts right now, the one difference that we're doing currently that is a change, that's different than what most districts are doing, is we're still going into great lengths to try as best we can to identify, okay, you are a student at Petaluma High School, you're sitting right here, and so who are the people around you? Okay. Most districts are just saying, there are students in the classroom, consider yourself a close contact and follow the procedures, because there's just not enough time to, you can imagine it's a math problem. If it's just one student, you're having to do that for their classes, all their classes, and you have to figure out seating charts, and you have to connect with the teachers. It's almost impossible, and our staff is still trying to do that. I'm not sure how much benefit we're getting from that, but right now we haven't made that shift. But we're looking at every single procedure and policy in practice to see how do we streamline this, because one of the things that wasn't brought up is we did have a couple of our staff members that have been on the team that have come up with some issues related to COVID, and we're down numbers. So
are we getting any support from the health district at all? I guess that's a no.
I can answer that. I don't work directly with them. We might, I don't know. I think that they're as overwhelmed as their stakeholders.
So I have a question kind of related to what Katie brought up earlier. Student has symptoms, they go home. Under the new updated guidelines, do they still need the PCR test to return, or can they have a rapid test to return once their symptoms dissipate in their vaccine?
They never needed a PCR test. They needed one of the approved tests.
So is the rapid now approved?
Yeah, it's always been approved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so the what? If you are a situation where you are, let's say you were positive to start with, and you're out, you're actually directed, or not required, but you're directed to not take a rapid test, because you will show up positive for 90 days. So you'll always show up as positive. Your PCR.
Your symptoms,
PCR.
PCR test. Because the PCR test will stay in your system for upwards of 90 days. The recommendation is related to the new isolation procedures. Are first and foremost, symptoms are improving. There's certain things that individual does not have, such as a fever. And once they wait a certain number of days, then if they meet all these criteria related to how they're feeling, and they're the only one that can determine that, then they can take a rapid antigen test. And if that test comes back as a negative, then they're eligible to return. Okay. If it comes back as a positive, there's a little bit longer of a waiting period that they have to have. And we're going to be providing all the district stakeholders that information tomorrow, probably afternoon. Do you have any other questions about this? I mean, you're living this every day, Katie. So the one last piece related to this. Oh, I was going to see if Katie had a question about any of
I was just going to ask, let's say you are in close contact with somebody in your English class, and you are advised to take tests in order to come back to school. Is a rapid test valid for that? Or would you have to go get a PCR test?
Yes, but that's happened to, for example, my son, and there's direction about the timing of it is the critical part. Because immediately, what happens is when people
it takes 3 days
without getting into a lot of details. If you try to get one early, you're gonna get an inaccurate result.
Yeah.
So it has to be really related to the time.
Okay.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right.
Can we change the way we're testing athletes so that they're not being pulled out of class?
I think what we can do, we certainly can look into what, I'm not familiar with the testing timeline, but we can certainly check into that, yeah.
It probably, I mean, there's probably so many variables like availability.
I have a feeling
of
that,
staff to
I have
do
a
it.
feeling what was probably happening is just trying to stay above water. And if a tester was at a certain school, they have to test at that particular time, or otherwise they'll never get through all the tests. Now, what's interesting, I guess, about it is, again, like in most districts, they're not testing at all, and they're telling you you're on your own. Go get your test. Go, you know, and I think some of it is trying to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
Create some of these challenges. But I think we can look into that, definitely.
I feel like it was also at an extreme today and yesterday because they just decided they're going to start doing this. So it was kind of like, this is the very first time they're doing this. They're just getting the hang of it, and having all of them come at once, like they probably saw how long the line was, and it was the first time. So I mean, pulling an opinion from that is kind of hard because
that's fair. Yeah. All right.
So on top of everything, we have a new health order, C-19-35, and I'm just gonna piecemeal a portion of it as that most impacts our schools, particularly our secondary sites. And this is a mandate order. This is not it would be nice for you to do this. This is you thou shalt. So I'm just going to read the part related to what types of school activities are limited or should not be held. Indoor athletic competitions, music, and other fine arts performances should be limited to 50 people or fewer, including all participants and spectators. Assigned seating should adhere to social distancing protocols, even at athletic events. For outdoor events where social distancing is not feasible, the limit is 100 people or fewer, including all participants and spectators. Schools should avoid holding dances or in-person assemblies for the duration of the health order. And it covers, this is a specific slice of it
And it's 30 days.
that covers the schools. The health order is obviously much larger and covers Sonoma County. So that you are aware, let me pull up my document. We have the Sonoma County high school superintendents, of which we are part of the high school superintendent group. We have sent a letter to our Dr. Mace and respectfully asking for some revision to this, and believe that there are some things that we can do to get a win-win that keep our students safe, but allow some element of parents, particularly, to attend games. And without getting into a lot of detail on that, one of the issues that we would like to consider is that the current health order exempts work, courthouses, places of worship, cafeteria, or any venue that is open to public circulation as part of its regular operations, such as shopping malls, stores, restaurant, food facilities, and museums. So those are exempted. We're asking for some condition and with some enhanced restrictions that we could allow some spectators in some of our venues. It would not be a large number, but we felt strongly enough, and it was that we needed to stand up for our students and our student athletes, and if we felt like we could do that in a safe way. So we're asking for just a further discussion, and don't know whether the county is amenable, the county health department is amenable to that. They certainly have a difficult job in trying to put this all together, but.
Are you talking about that 30-day order of gatherings of, is that what it is?
The concern is that the limiting of gathering of 50 people essentially eliminates all people from basketball games. When you start adding, because that counts the players as people.
Yeah.
So it's yeah. And the question that so often comes, and it was kind of brought up today by speakers, well, then why are we in school? Well, the order is not just about school. The order is larger. The order is about a sense of an inability for the county to have structured environments. Schools, they're not worried about as much because of structured environments. And what we're just trying to do is remind the county that we've done a pretty good job with this, and that we think a little bit of flex on this, we can do this safely. We would never go out there and make a recommendation if we didn't feel we could do it safely. And we're not talking about, like I said, say it's Petaluma High School, even if it was 2 people per athlete, that's better than none, right?
Well, especially if you look at the fall when parents could go, like, right, we didn't see like this big spike from people being able to attend basketball games in the fall. So, yeah.
So I'll update you as this unfolds, but yeah, this restriction is effective, I believe, at midnight tonight.
For 30 days.
And obviously we are obligated to honor that and enforce it. But I wanted you to know that in the past we've been able to try to work on some of this language, and I'm not sure that it's been fully thought of, the school related part.
Okay.
That's what we have for tonight as far as the update.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other questions, Katie? Okay, all right, anyone else? No? All right, well, with that, future business.
I would like to make sure that we are getting notifications about school activities. Last board meeting, we had some presentations. There was a play at Casa Grande. And I looked around. I try to go to all the plays. I'm a drama teacher. No information. So I don't know if that's future business or just.
We can bring it up at our next meeting.
Okay.
With principals.
Yes, I mean,
Happy to do so.
I think all of us would like that information.
Definitely, we missed a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not really quite sure where the disconnect is.
Yeah, because we were getting that.
We get them from some of the schools,
Yeah.
so I'm sure, right, there's like a group on Parent Square they could check.
You just want to be on their listserv.
Yeah,
and then
we just
then
want to
you'll
know
get
what's
it.
going on.
All of them.
Okay, not a problem.
Thank you.
Then I would.
Sorry, I didn't
No,
know
you
that-
go
I
ahead.
didn't know that you had one too.
You go ahead, Sheldon.
All right, mine's really quick.
Okay.
Chris, at some point in the spring, this is not a big rush, about our bonds. Can we get an update on the bonds, not only the spending down, but particularly the original project lists associated with those bonds and how we're doing on checking those things off and what is outstanding? As we're spending down the bond, we're going to have to be thinking way ahead about, do we want a future bond? And I think that has to be contingent upon how well we've done in checking off those project lists.
I was just going to ask that we have, that's all. I was going to ask that we update the website to include Malaya and Katie on there, just, on the board page.
Yes.
You guys are-
Perfect.
Yeah.
I have maybe, I don't know, I think a discussion.
Right.
About office hours.
Oh, okay.
We start our office hours on February 2nd.
Yeah, I've got a bunch.
So I was just thinking, I don't know, it's such a crazy time, but so we have it for 2 months. Our last one is on March 16th. And I was thinking maybe we could take the February ones and postpone them and put them in April.
Yeah, we have.
So I don't know, I just wanted to throw it out there for you guys because, it's still a controlled environment. It's still, we don't have masses of people coming to see us, but I don't know whether it's a good idea, frankly.
Yeah, I have 4 in February.
Yeah, I do too, I think.
I I don't have a problem with doing them now.
I mean, hopefully this will be dissipated a bit by February.
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, we could postpone them and I'll be okay with that, but I'm also okay with doing the ones I have scheduled in February.
Okay. So we could discuss this next time.
Yeah.
Or we can just decide tonight. I mean, if no one wants to postpone it.
It's not agendized, so we do have to wait.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'll
we
put it
have
on
to
as an
wait.
information item.
Okay.
Office hours?
Yeah.
So we'll do that as an information item, not a problem.
Well, thankfully, we, in the first semester, got to all the schools. This was going to be
Yes.
our second.
Second go round.
Our second visit, so I think it's okay. But we will discuss next time. Thank you, Maddie.
Okay.
Ellen or Katie, did you have something that you wanted to discuss, teacher? No? We get everybody? Okay. All right. And with that, we are adjourned.